But first, we've got the management of Mphasis with us. That stock is definitely in focus. It's made a new acquisition in trade today. Let's find out more from my old friend Nitin Rakesh, CEO and Executive Director at Mphasis now. Great to have you with us, Nitin. Nitin, the rationale behind this acquisition and the expected completion timeline, if you can tell us.
Sure. Thanks, Vikram. Good to be on the show again. So I think we acquired a company called Stelligent Systems, which is a technology services company based in the U.S., specializing in AWS, DevOps, and containerization. AWS, as you know, is the premier public cloud service platform provider. This is the fastest growing part of the public cloud market. Clearly, they have a number one position, and this is an acquisition that will go a long way in bringing us to being the premier consulting partner, as well as using the expertise that we are acquiring in furthering our own solution set, especially as it relates to the whole front-to-back digital transformation with the cloud native, the whole dev cycle, accelerating continuous integration and delivery formats, and essentially helping enterprise clients embrace the cloud and launch and deploy code faster, which is a very large part of what the new requirements are for next-gen services. Second, I think there's a big push for legacy modernization using the cloud, and the container capabilities that we acquired from this company, the expertise they have on AWS containerization is very key to that approach as well. So I think all in all, it's a fairly strategic tuck-in acquisition, small in size, less than 1% of our revenue, but most importantly, I think something very strategic as we go forward in integrating them into our service offerings.
All right, so Nitin, since you're talking about revenues, they might not be very significant, but currently the revenues from the acquired company, that is unlikely, like you said, to impact the consolidated revenues. Going ahead, though, what's the outlook on the contribution it is likely to make?
Yeah, I think we can think about it in a way that we integrate the capability into our go-to-market, and from that perspective, this kind of gets subsumed. We're not, keeping the entity as a separate P&L. So, the impact should really be more on what can we do with the capability and how can we, continue to accelerate our own growth and our own deal wins. And I think I expect this to contribute significantly to our differentiation in the market, our partnership status with AWS, and most importantly, I think, as I said, this is we have the unique ability to actually provide leadership in going to our enterprise clients who are all looking for solutions in this space. So I think this is more about continue to accelerate our own growth that we've been seeing anyways over the past few quarters, and this adds another arrow in our quiver to take to clients.
If you can also tell us, Nitin, what's the current cash that lies on the books of Mphasis, and what segments are you looking for in terms of further acquisitions?
Yeah, I think we have roughly between 350 to 400 million of cash. Of course, there's an impending buyback that will get affected. All the process is on, so that's another 150 of buyback that will go out of the cash. So assume about 200 or so it still lies in cash. This is a small one with 25. By the end of the quarter, obviously, we'll update the market on what our current cash position is. But we do have significant operating leverage still available in the balance sheet. So I think this is absolutely a step in the right direction as far as we are concerned in using some of that cash and creating a string of pearls, the best-in-breed capability acquisition story.
We've seen the rupee recovering over the last 1 month or so, Nitin. If you can quantify the kind of impact that a percentage point change in the rupee has on the company's financials?
Yeah, I think every 1 rupee change has a 20 bips impact on our operating margin. But more importantly, we run a rolling hedge policy that has been very consistent for the last many years. So from that perspective, you can start looking at the average hedge rates have edged up already from the 67.5 levels this quarter, this financial year, to roughly 70 right now on an outstanding hedges basis. So that clearly means that we'll start seeing some tailwind on our margins in FY20. And how much of that we continue to invest back in the business and how much of that we keep in the margin is a decision we make as we get closer to FY20. But I think the margin position is, we'll get hopefully more comfortable as well as we get that tailwind. And of course, we are very happy that we've actually been using a lot of the operational efficiencies. From on a YOY basis, we've already seen about 200 bips improvement in our margins as of Q2.
Right. And Nitin, there are claims of a dramatic increase in the number of H-1B visas that are surfacing. What's your take on this, and how's the ground environment currently?
I think there's obviously a lot of press focus on the issue. Our position is, if you run a tight ship, follow all the procedural, formalities required, have good documentation, and blend H1s as part of your overall global supply chain versus being overly dependent, then I think it's something that we can manage through, and that's what we're doing right now.
Nitin, we wish you great luck. Congratulations on this acquisition and greetings of the season. Indeed, we will be connecting with you in the future as well to see how this acquisition and others that could possibly be in the pipeline pan out for you. Thanks very much for joining us on Lunch Money. Meanwhile, markets are picking up after what started off as a quiet beginning to the first full trading session of somewhat 2075. The Nifty finds itself at the 10,580 levels. Sensex above 35,100 clearly. Now we're at 35.